Hi, today I'm talking about Parenting Teens, the 7 Secrets to Success. This is a part of a 7-part series, and this is part 1. So a little bit about who I am. I'm Carlene Lehman. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I have a private practice located in Austin, Texas. You can visit our website at www.relationshipsmatteraustin.com. We have information about our services, and then we have other support materials for you on there as well to help you in your journey as you're parenting your teens. So a little bit about my experience is I have experience working with teens in the public school system. I've been both a general education and a special education teacher. I have worked with teens who had a lot of challenges with emotional regulation and also building their interpersonal skills with their teachers and their peers. I have worked with parents in that role as well. They needed support on that journey because there was a lot of frustration and anxiety, that could come up for them as well. And then now I work as a therapist. I support teens and parents in my private practice. And then I'm also a mom of 3 teenagers, and I do have one with Asperger's. So here are the 7 secrets to success. I'm going to review all of them, but today we're going to be talking about the first one, which is becoming an expert in adolescent development. 2 is the 3 things teens need most are love, boundaries, and power. 3, employ new communication techniques. 4, allow your teen to fail. 5, being a good role model. 6, go back to the basics. 7, develop and nurture a support network for ourselves as a parent. So the first one is becoming an expert in their development. And we need to remember that teens develop in many different ways, and they're at very different rates. So they're going to be developing socially, cognitively, which is the brain development, physically, sexually, emotionally. And like I said, all these don't develop at the same rate. So physically, they're maybe taller than we are. They're shaving, but cognitively they're not in the same place. For females, it'll be 21 until their brain is fully developed. For males, it's 25. So it takes a while for humans to fully develop. And these areas will become more balanced in about their junior year of high school. So here are some tips for us as parents. For the social development, we need to remember that they need lots of encouragement. They're changing and growing so quickly. There is a lot of pressure on them to become responsible and more independent. So we're more of a sounding board at this stage. And they're going to need an understanding ear, someone that can listen to them and guide them when needed. And ask lots of different questions to help prompt them to think about things. Then we're going to want to facilitate a connection with them and their friends and their parents, their friends' parents. And then they will need appropriate supervision because they can be impulsive at this age. And they're not always thinking things through, right? The part of the brain that helps them with problem solving is still developing. So that leads right into cognitive development, that they're going to need opportunities to make good choices and decisions. But we can't always count on them to do so because their brain is still developing. So we need to provide a safety net. Give them those opportunities, but be there for them. Not to be critical when they make a mistake, but to be there and help them through that process so that they can learn from those mistakes. With physical development, teens are very self-conscious at this age. So when they look in the mirror, the pimple is huge, it's massive, and everyone's going to notice, and they're going to make fun of them, and that's real. That's real for them in this stage that they're in. Their brain is just, it kind of zeroes in on those things, and so they are very self-conscious. And while we may have a broader understanding with all of our experience that we've had, and at this stage of our life, most likely people aren't going to be pointing those things out. But at their stage, it may happen, right? Somebody may comment on that pimple, and they may be horrified. So just being able to be understanding that that's where they're at. So we don't want to compare our teens' physical development, so what they look like, their weight, to anyone else. We don't want to be critical of that because they take it in, and they take it in without a lot of filter there. And then remembering that normal covers a wide range for teens. No person is the same as someone else, right? And we don't need to expect them to be the way everyone else is, right? To be a cookie cutter kind of way. So with sexual development, our job as a parent includes teaching our teens about sex, which hopefully we've been doing all along, right? Since they were really little, starting with just talking about the different parts of the body, that we have an arm, we have a leg, we have a penis, we have a vagina, that as we get older, these hormones are going to start coming up, right? That they're going to start affecting the way that we feel, our emotions. And then it's really important to talk to them about what our values around sex are. That if we have a value that they're not going to have sex before marriage, or that it's for a committed relationship or a loving relationship, those are the kinds of things we want to share, not to tell them like they have to do it this way, but that this is what we believe and why this is important for us, how we came about at that belief and that value, so that they can have a broad understanding, not just hey, we have to do it this way, because they're going to want to know why and how you came to that conclusion. And that really helps them to take it on as their own when they can think about it on all those different levels as well. We really want to discuss the emotional aspect of a sexual relationship. So when we have sex with another person, that bonds us to them. It creates this hormone called oxytocin, that bonding hormone. And so it's a big deal when we're sexual with someone else, because we have a different feeling about them. And that's really important for our teens to know that, and for that not to catch them off guard, because they can make better decisions about when they become sexual and who they become sexual with, and that it, not just be a casual thing and then they're caught off guard by all that connection, that emotional connection that comes up. And just know that that's something that may not be covered in school, and that's a piece of that sexual instruction that you can provide as a parent. Then with emotional development, our teens experience their emotions at twice the intensity of adults. So you probably know this. You've seen it, right? You're carrying on, you're having a good time, you're teen, and then all of a sudden, 2 seconds later, all of a sudden they're really angry, or they're really sad about, or really hurt about something, and you're thinking, oh my God, where did that come from? Like, you were blindsided. We didn't see it coming at all. And they can go from 0 to 100 very fast in that intensity of their emotions. And that's just where they're at. They're at a very emotional stage. And they're trying to figure it out. They really are. They can be just as confused about it as we can be at times. So while we don't want to allow them and their emotions to rule the house, we do want to have some empathy and compassion for them while they're in this stage. Not to get critical, not to lash out at them because they're having some feelings, but help them to come to some understanding and asking questions about what's going on, or if they're not wanting to talk about it, which they may not be, then we can role model to them about taking a break. And the way we can do that is we role model when we're in a situation that we're having overwhelming emotion. We can say, hey, right now I'm feeling really overwhelmed and I'm feeling like I'm going to say something that I'm going to regret and I need to go take a break. Right? Me as the parent, I need to go take a break so that I can calm down, and then we can come back and discuss this. Some other important reminders are that we cannot rush Mother Nature. Development happens on its own timetable, and each team's timetable is unique. So we have to be patient with that. Just like nature, right? We can't rush it. There may be some things we might be able to influence, but we may not. And so we can think of it as if a fruit is ripening, that it's going to happen in its own time. We can also develop appropriate expectations for our team. We have to think about the age and maturity level and also the temperament or personality of your individual teen. So some teens can be what we call flaky. They can lose track of time. They can make commitments and then not follow through on them. And that's normal at this stage. Their body is being bombarded by so much. The hormones, the expectations of school and all the work that they have to do, and then expectations at home as well. And sometimes they just forget. And this is important, that they're not trying to be disrespectful or drive you crazy, even though it may seem like it. That is not their intention. They just have so many things that they're juggling. Some other important reminders are to focus on who they are on the inside. Your teen may experiment with different looks, so they may try different types of clothing and hairstyle, and that is normal for them to try out different roles and different ways of being in the world. They're experimenting and trying to see, hey, is this me or is this me? Or maybe I'm a combination, and it can change quickly. So if they aren't hurting anyone, try to allow them to express themselves, even if you don't care for that look. So if they decide to wear all black, right? I mean, in the scheme of things, no one's getting hurt. They're just experimenting. And we can sort of think of it as like this little adventure that they're on, right? Trying to figure out what style suits me. They're also trying to fit in with their peers as well. And so they may be influenced by what other people around them are doing. We want home to be a safe haven where they can recharge their batteries. This is really important because they go out into the world and they have to produce at school. They have to, if they have a job, they have to produce there. And they have to be on their best. So being able to have a place that they can come home to and be able to relax, to to know that it's going to be a quiet space, that they can go in their room and they can have some downtime. They need home to be a place that is supportive as well. So make sure your home provides that safe refuge for them. And then the big thing to remember when it comes to adolescence is, what is the goal, right? There is a point to this whole period of life where it seems like it may just be a lot of upheaval at times. But the goal is for them to become independent and equipped to function as an adult. So independence and functioning on their own as an adult. The teen brain. So here's a great picture that shows the deep inside the brain is what we call the limbic brain. It's also called the amygdala in there. And that is responsible for the fight, flight, or freeze responses that we have to overwhelm or stress in our life. So that part of our brain thinks, it's based on survival. So it thinks, am I safe? Do people want me? Do I belong? Right? That's really important at this stage of life that our teens are in. This is where our emotions live. And then the other part that's highlighted there in red is our prefrontal cortex. There are 9 functions of this part of our body, our brain. This is the part that is responsible for empathy, for insight, for what we call response flexibility. So that's being able to pause and respond instead of just reacting to something. Also for our emotional regulation, our body regulation, for our morality and values, for our intuition, for attuned communication, so being able to pay attention to other person's, what they're giving us, right? Not only what they're saying, but their nonverbal, so with their body language, and put ourselves in their shoes and think about it so that when we communicate, we're taking the big picture into account, not just us. And then also it helps to modulate fear. So we talked about that the brain really isn't fully developed until age 25. And it's the prefrontal cortex, that red part on that picture, that's still developing during adolescence. And so they have to kind of fall back on and rely on that limbic, that amygdala part of our brain that is just about fight, flight, or freeze and fear responses, which makes a lot of sense when we think about their reactions and how they can react, right, so intensely to situations. So based on the stage of their brain development, these are some things that adolescents are more likely to do. Act on impulse, misread or misinterpret social cues and emotions. So they have a hard time reading other people. They may look at you and you may have like just a restful face, right? And they may see anger when you're like, no, I'm just taking a break. I've had a hard day. It's nothing about you. But they may think, oh, my mom's like, she's upset with me. That they can get into accidents of all different kinds. That's because they're growing physically, and at times they can be awkward if they've had a growth spurt. It can take a little time to like grow into their body. And then also they're very impulsive as well. So they may get involved in fights. They might engage in dangerous or risky behavior because that prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed and they don't have the skill of problem solving, not as well as we do as an adult. And then they're less likely to think before they act, pause to consider the consequences of their actions, and to change their dangerous or inappropriate behaviors. They have a hard time doing that in the moment because they're not constantly assessing like we are. They are acquiring a lot of new skills. So they're developing new skills in social behavior, but also abstract thought. Then that helps them with algebra, right? They're just starting to be able to do that. They're not good at using them yet. So what they have to do is they have to experiment. They have to try things out. And sometimes they use us as their parents as a guinea pig. So they're not consciously doing this. It's just something that they're trying different things out. And then, hey, you kind of see how we react to it. So how we express ourselves is very important because it can influence them a lot. So many kids at this age view conflict as a type of self-expression, and they may have trouble focusing on an abstract idea or taking another person's point of view. They're dealing with a huge amount of social, emotional, and cognitive flux, so lots of changes. And they're underdeveloped, their abilities are underdeveloped to cope. They don't have the same coping skills that we have developed as an adult. That took us time, right? It took us time. It took learning. It took mistakes to figure that out. And they haven't had that yet. So they need us as their parents, those of us, right, as adults who have a more stable adult brain to help them by staying calm. So we need to be calm and we need to listen and be good role models. We're the ones that have the skills, and sometimes we forget that. And it's okay. We don't have to be perfect. We're doing our best, but the more mindful we can be in those moments, and if we start to feel like we're getting upset, take a break. And we're going to talk more about that later in this series. So that concludes the part about the brain development. I would love to hear if you have any questions. You can leave them in the comments. You can also email me. I'd be happy to answer it because I really love supporting teenagers and their parents. It can be confusing time, and I've worked with a lot of different folks and a lot of different situations, and it's something I'm passionate about. I want parents to know that they're not alone and that there is support out there for them. And so that's why I do this. So if you'd like to stay connected with us, you can go to our website, relationshipsmatteraustin.com. You can sign up for our monthly newsletter on there. We have articles on our blog about lots of different topics. And we also have information on our services. So we do have parenting support services, and we also offer teen counseling. We do family counseling as well. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube for more information as well. And I have my phone number right there, 512-994-0432. Or you can email at carlene@relationshipsmatteraustin.com. So the goal that I have in doing all this is to help us rebuild that connection and help us communicate with our teen so that they can cooperate and we can have a back and forth relationship with them. It's not just one-sided from us, but it's us together as a team so that they can become responsible and independent and function as an adult out there. All right. Well, thank you. And I look forward to speaking with you.